The WNBA investigating alleged racist comments towards Angel Reese. Plus, is this the end for the Tush Push as the NFL owners finally meet? Hi, everyone, and welcome to Front Office Sports Today from FOS Studios here in New York City. I'm Baker Machado.
And I'm Renee Washington. The Tush Push is here to stay, and so are we. Happy Monday. We've got a lot to get into, including a great interview with tennis star Donna Vekic. So let's jump right in first with the shoot-around.
Yes, indeed. Let's start with golf as Scottie Scheffler won the PGA Championship at Quail Hollow on Sunday. That to seal his third major title and a tournament record $3.4 million first place prize. Now, the number one golfer in the world the last 2 years increased his career earnings to $81.9 million with the victory. And Renee, the PGA Championship even increased its purse to a record $19 million this year.
Yeah, for the 28-year-old, he also was able to gain 750 FedEx Cup points. He also climbed the standings in terms of overall world rankings and things. So for him to have this opportunity, and then you see him even making history. I mean, since World War II, only Tiger Woods and Jack Nicklaus have matched the feat that he has of 15 wins and 3 majors before turning 30. He's in some great company. Nike had a tremendous ad, which I love to see.
Right.
It was Gatorade with Paige Beckers when she won a national championship. Anthony Edwards when he slayed dethroned, I should say, LeBron James and Adidas dropped theirs. And now Nike also dropped an incredible ad about him as the best in the world.
All right, and speaking of somebody getting paid, Mr. Irrelevant is now Mr. Paid. The 49ers signing Brock Purdy to a new 5-year deal with $181 million guaranteed. It's worth upwards of $265 million in total, which would be near the top of the quarterback market. Now, Renee, he does trail other quarterbacks in guaranteed money out there, but still good to see Brock Purdy getting this money.
It's such an incredible story, not just because he was the last pick in the 2022 draft, but also he's coming off an injury-plagued season, dealt with an elbow and a shoulder injury, threw a career-high 12 interceptions in his 15 games, and they didn't even make the playoffs for the first time ever as a franchise, yet they still felt like they could invest in him for the future. And this no-trade clause that Brock Purdy has also shows he wants to be there, and it gives him kind of the ability to control his future. So I think it's incredible that he's got this new deal where he earned a total of $2.6 million over the first 3 seasons in the league, and now has an average annual salary of $53 million.
Yep.
So big uptick for him. Great for their team to be able to show how they're going to invest in him, and also changes the quarterback market for others.
Yeah.
A lot of positives that come out of this deal.
Only a few other quarterbacks, Dak Prescott namely, making more money than Brock Purdy here. Finally, a uniform Michael Jordan wore for 17 games with the Bulls during the 92-93 NBA season was sold for $2.6 million at Heritage Auctions. Yeah, Jordan was shown in this jersey on the cover of the October 1993 Sports Illustrated. Now, Renee, while this is a lot, this is not the most expensive MJ collectible. That is still his 1998 NBA Finals Last Dance jersey, which sold for $10 million back in 2022. Then a record for the most paid item for a sports memorabilia.
Yeah, and that record was broken by Babe Ruth's jersey from the called shot game in 1932 that sold for $24.1 million. Jerseys sell for a lot of money. And as you mentioned, you look at that 92-93 season, he won the scoring title. That was his 3rd championship. People got to say, they now can say they're owning the jersey. He's sweating. He played in. I don't know if I'd pay that much money for a jersey.
I don't either, but it really seems like they had to really confirm that he actually wore these. They had to go back through every single one of the road games to make sure he actually wore this outfit.
I will say I like that Michael Jordan's being talked about now with the broadcast opportunities and the jersey for things other than just the usual GOAT conversation. We're talking about him in a whole different way.
Finally, in what was supposed to be an exciting opening tip-off for the new season, with a rivalry game between the Indiana Fever and the Chicago Sky, has now turned into a league investigation involving racist comments hurled towards Angel Reese. This after a foul from Caitlin Clark set off a frenzy. So let's take a look at this and more in tonight's main event. And let's bring in Front Office Sports reporter Colin Salao, who was at the game over the weekend. Colin, thanks so much for joining us. So tell us a little bit about what happened at the arena. Obviously, we know that this was a normal take foul from Caitlin Clark, but why did it get such a big reaction from fans?
I mean, it's this, so-called rivalry between these two, big stars in the league. And when you have any hard foul, against Caitlin Clark in general, there's been discussions about it, but specifically it was Clark toward Reese this time around. And it did seem quite like a push, and you could see that she pushed and obviously received the flagrant foul. You can talk about, whether you think that was deserved or not, but, you're in Indiana. I know, Angel Reese had been getting a reaction all game long. She was the only player booed during the player introductions. That's what I vividly remember. So it's very obvious why there was a reaction. In terms of what I've seen and read, the allegations, I can't, I didn't necessarily see anything on that, but there was definitely a reaction toward Reese even before the incident happened.
Interesting. And we have heard and seen the statements that have come out from the WNBA, the WNBPA. Both teams issue statements just around not having any tolerance for racism in the league specifically. It has that Larry Bird, Magic Johnson feel when you look at just the history and the rivalry that's going between these two. In your opinion, Colin, how can the WNBA continue to leverage the competition, the rivalry, without also maybe poking and continuing to further perpetuate some of the discriminatory, racist specific comments, as this has become a black versus white issue with Caitlin and Angel?
Yeah, it's a very nuanced question, right? Because it's clear that this is going to help them grow. I don't think it's funny when you listen to Caitlin. I was at the game. She mentioned Angel Reese just one time in the pre and post game press conference, and it was to talk about how she's a good defender, essentially. And when she was asked about the rivalry, she said something to the lines of, "Oh, you guys like it." So it's funny that the two of them are kind of straying away from the rivalry, but the league is has put all 5 games on national television. So to answer your question directly, it's a very nuanced line. I think that they have to continue pushing it because it is part of the game, and it's very tricky to find like an exact way to avoid it other than to continue to spread awareness, at least from my vantage point.
Mm-hmm.
Well, is there a way for the W to fix this? I mean, obviously, this isn't just specific to the WNBA. Obviously, soccer and other sports deal with racist and homophobic chants from a lot of fans that are out there. But is this an issue that the W feels like they need to get under control if they're going to grow this rivalry?
Yeah, I think it's not even just about growing the rivalry. It's about growing the league at large. Alyssa Thomas and Dejanay Carrington talked last year about how they experienced those comments. And we have the CBA coming up. That's definitely going to be a discussion there because it's not just going to be about players wanting more money. It's about them being treated the right way by the fans. And at the same time, I think the fans are going to get sick of the conversation as well if this continues to be around league. I've been seeing that on social media as well, where it's like, well, to what point is this going to be, exhausting to keep going back to? So I think that there needs to be, a little bit of a step back on all sides. And I'm interested to see how the WNBA solves it, even with the CBA coming up.
It's interesting because with that dominant 35-point win this weekend, we're not talking about Caitlin Clark's triple-double or the double-double by Aaliyah Boston. We're not talking about the Fever even passing 1 million Facebook followers, which is the first WNBA team to do so on any platform. We're talking about these comments and this issue. Why now, do you think, Colin? We've seen whether it's the Sue Bird, Diana Taurasi, or on the other side, Cynthia Cooper, Shamika Holtzclaw, great legends on both sides in terms of demographics. But why now do you think that these two have stirred the pot so much in terms of causing this reaction?
I mean, of course, it's the added attention to the league and the fact that there is such a boost in attention that's related to these two players. But to your point, Monica McNutt has talked about it on ESPN so much. Are the media outlets going to be the ones to stir it the opposite way? DeWanna Bonner became a 3rd all-time leading scorer in that game and doesn't seem to be getting that much attention. So I think it's up to people like us to see if we can move the needle on the other side.
Well, these two teams play each other in just a few weeks, the first week of June. So we'll see what happens between now and then. Colin Salao, our front office sports reporter, joining us. Colin, thank you so much. And we have a lot more front office sports today coming your way right after this quick break. And welcome back, friends, to Front Office Sports Today with Renee Washington. I'm Baker Machado, and the NFL owners are going to meet this week in Minnesota for votes on reseeding playoff teams, flag football, and if the Tush Push will live to see another season. So let's have Renee get her crystal ball and forecast what she thinks the owners are going to do. So let's start with this, Renee. The Tush Push ban, will it pass? Will we not see the Tush Push anymore?
Well, first of all, everybody that's a hater and mad that they can't execute the tush push as well as the Philadelphia Eagles, annoying. Multi-year extension for head coach Nick Sirianni with the Eagles, and part of it is because of the success of the tush push.
Yeah.
And there are 0 injuries that have come from it.
Yeah.
I actually have seen that 16 teams supported the ban back in April.
Yeah.
I do not think a tush push ban is going to happen, but Roger Goodell has hinted at going back to that pre-2004 era where you couldn't. It was you were unable to push or pull a player. So they're gonna find a sneaky way to go around it. But teams that lost to the Eagles last year, Packers, are just salty.
So the crystal ball,
in my
is
opinion, is saying that the tush push is here to stay.
Ooh, interesting. I think you might be right. I don't know if the tush push has the votes to get rid of it, but there might be some sort of alteration with it in terms of how it's able to have it.
And that's what the Packers just came out with and saying they want to modify it because they know the tush push is not getting banned. So they wanted to just find another way to go about banning it. So no pushing or pulling players is what's going to pass, but the actual tush push is here to
All right,
stay.
the next big one, I think this has a good chance of passing. The NFL playoffs reseeding resolution. Essentially, it would guarantee if you have a better record, a better seeding, as opposed to if you win your division, that then depends on the seeding. What do you think is going to happen there?
Multiple sources apparently came out and said that it's unlikely this proposal is going to have enough votes to pass. But this expert is saying it's going to pass.
Ooh.
And I think the reason why is because the league wants what's best for fans.
Yeah.
And when you have extra incentive to not only win those divisional games, which is only like a third of the regular season, by the way, but those non-divisional games as well, it adds more excitement, it adds more drama. There's the reseeding by winning percentage versus just by winning your division. So I think it would make the league even more exciting for fans, which means more viewership, more talks, and that also means more money. So I actually could see them, yes, the league is going to look into reseeding as the new format.
I think you're right on this one. I mean, there should be no reason why the NFC South, which is always a dumpster fire every year of what 8-8 team is basically going to win, getting the 3 or 4 seed as a result of that. You should never incentivize these teams who, just because they win their really terrible division, all of a sudden is higher ahead of somebody else who might have a better record and might be a better overall football team, but plays in a tougher division.
And we've seen divisions where a 500 record or even less is enough to get into the playoffs. That's ridiculous. So by winning percentage, and then you can also tinker with now home playoff games and things like that.
I agree.
But the best team should be in the best position to get to the Super Bowl. So I'm all for it.
All right, last one. The NFL owners also going to be voting on if NFL players can participate in flag football, especially heading into the Olympics. What are you what is your crystal ball telling us, Renee?
All right, well, based on the league's work so far that they've done extensively to expand their global reach with their NFL flag program, that's in all 50 states. They have over 1,600 teams with over 620,000 athletes. It's going to pass. They've already been putting in the foundation of the NFL's work with the flag program, and they're going to continue that by allowing players to go to the Olympics. The tricky part is some have said that proposal only will allow 1 player per team to go, as well as 1 international player. So I think, yes, it's going to happen. There's going to be players that get the opportunity to play in the Olympics, which football players don't get that chance. But I think they're not going to like the ruling that there's going to be some, parameters around it.
And I think the owners are going to be crazy about preventing injuries, and because there's too much of an investment for the regular season that they don't want these guys to get injured for flag football. So I think there's going to be big questions with that, but I think they're going to love the amount of money and attention that this is going to get, especially for the Olympics. All right, let's see what's bubbling over at the FOS water cooler, and it actually is bubbling over on Twitter. So what do NBA superstars not in the playoffs do with their spare time? They post on social media. Giannis did a Q&A over on X this weekend, answering important questions like his favorite perfume, Joe Malone, Cypress and Grapevine, by the way, his top 5 NBA, all top 5, and Florida apparently makes him happy, and New York, his favorite city to play on the road. Of course, all those getting the most attention, but what did you see that you liked the most that he tweeted?
I like the personality we got to see from Giannis, because Kevin Durant coming out tweeting about how he wanted fans to stop begging him to go to the Charlotte Hornets is like classic Kevin Durant. He's always got the X fingers. But for Giannis to come out talking about his favorite perfume, of course he got Miami Heat fans excited because he said Florida is one of his favorites. All the cities in Florida, mind you, Orlando's in Florida, are his favorite to visit. That doesn't mean he wants to play there. But then even like the road trip of road games being in New York, that could be the Knicks or the Nets.
Right.
But I will say I liked his gorilla answer because he put some dogs in this one. He went with height, he went with size, And that's quite a list.
That is a list. Steve Adams, Zubac, Zach Edey, and Joker will be the 4 that would beat the Silverback
With
Gorilla.
yeah.
I 100% agree with that.
Giannis.
All right, guys, we got a great week ahead. We're going to preview the NBA Conference Finals on Tuesday. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you next time.